So we're going to talk a little politics, John.
Come on, I hate that.
I know. No, you don't hate that. I hate that.
I think we both, you know what, we have agreed to get to the point where it's not about that with us.
No, it's not.
You know, I think it's fair to say that I fall a little to the right of you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I guess so. Sure.
I would say a little.
A little.
And actually less than I thought originally when we first met.
Right?
Oh, great.
Yeah, I know. Well, you still say that quite a bit.
I do say
I
that.
never shut the recording off and you keep talking. You just never realize I'm still recording.
For different reasons. I wondered why you put the electrician's tape on my screen where it says recording.
Yes, I did that.
It's like fixing the light on the dashboard of the car.
Right.
Hey, you know
That's
how to get that
to
check engine light to go off? Electrician's tape.
Yes.
That's how you do it. So yes, we're going to do a little politicking today, but not in a bad way. I think.
Well, no, and we're not talking about true politics.
Well, that's accurate. However, it seems to just weasel its way into everything these days. So what I will say is, I hope that we can show how it can be done respectfully and maybe set an example for all of our listeners and viewers.
Well, absolutely. I'm just going to come out and say you're absolutely wrong. Okay. And I think you should go to hell.
That means that really...
I'm canceling you right now.
That would be quite a coincidence because I just turned off the screen. I'm not looking at you now.
Don't do that again. Last time you did that, we had a Podius interruptus.
We did, and I don't want that to happen today.
No. But did you like my Podius interruptus?
It was fabulous. I teared up a little.
I need to. The one thing I didn't think of when we decided to go ahead and do video is that I needed to build the intro. And I was editing everything last week and getting to a point that I was ready to upload it. And then I got to the music part and I'm like, oh crap, I didn't build one. So I just threw up the logo. I'm like, this will do. This will do for this week. No one's going to watch it anyways, so who cares?
Well, I will tell you this, that if you eat enough logo, you will throw up the logo. Well, that was, it was actually a reference back. A friend of mine years ago used to say, in the Night Before Christmas poem or story, he opened the window and threw up the sash. Well, you shouldn't have eaten so much sash then.
I like that.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cute.
You know, I next for Christmas, you know what I'm going to do this year? I think for one PoddiMouths episode, I have to find it. It's somewhere in the house. Okay. I have a politically correct version of The Night Before Christmas. I'm going to read that.
It's our Christmas episode. That will be great.
Freaking hilarious.
That sounds awesome.
I bet you it's not even politically correct anymore, half the stuff that's in it. But
well, it's sort of like George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on TV. I think like 6 of them have been said on TV.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially now with streaming. Hell, all 7 have been said on this podcast.
Not by me, Mom.
No, not by you.
Mom, not by me.
We love you, Mom.
We do.
So let's talk about it. So I had, and you kind of queued this up in our last episode. I had, and we are going to talk about you too, Mike. Don't worry, we'll get there. But I had my very first COVID vaccine shot. And so did Jen. Jen had hers today. Okay. I had mine last week.
Okay, my first question, was it in the butt or?
I asked for it, but they weren't willing. I don't know why. So I went to Vanderbilt, and this, I think, I forgive me if I told this story already, but for those who didn't listen to the last episode, I'll tell it again. So Tennessee was interesting. I had been in Indiana and Kentucky and Illinois all in the same week, and all of the dealers that I was with, or all of the people I had spent time with, were talking about how those states were already allowing people that were 16 and up to get the COVID vaccine. Mm-hmm. Well, I was hearing the news at the same time from home, from Nashville, and how the governor of Tennessee was just this incredible, forward-thinking person, because he promised that every Tennessean that would be allowed to have the COVID vaccine by April 5th. I'm already sitting in going through 3 other states that are already there. Yeah, he's so advanced in his thinking. I'm like, okay, anyway, that has no bearing on it. I just that week I actually got, or the following week, because it was 2 weeks later, I got a text message from Vanderbilt that said,
Mm,
"You are now eligible to get your shot. Book your appointment now." And I
mhm.
booked it for not the following day, but the day after, because I wanted to do it on a Friday, because just in case, me and my anxiety, I just wanted to make sure I didn't get sick. So I booked it and went to Vanderbilt on the Friday, and it was like herding cattle. Literally, that's how Vanderbilt is a phenomenal hospital. They have some incredible doctors, and they do a lot for the community. But the one thing I dislike about Vanderbilt, and this goes back to my story about when I had my surgery for
Mm.
my hernias plural, uh, how they literally get you in a herd of people. They herd you into the elevator, they herd you into the prep room, and you're all in the same room together, just separated by curtains. It was the same experience.
It's like
You
boarding a Southwest Airlines
It's
flight.
exactly like boarding a Southwest Airlines flight, except the Southwest Airlines don't give you shots. Well, they give you shots, just the wrong kind of shots.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. They don't stick any needles in you.
Let's hope not. Not that
Hope
I
not.
know of.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? You never know. I
No.
have fallen asleep in some odd positions on a Southwest Airlines flight.
Have you not?
Um, anyway, so they herded us into the hallway, then they herd into the room, and it's a big long line. And by the way, I am still considered by my doctor to be overweight. I don't deny that. I'm still technically overweight for my
What?
height and my age and blah blah blah. Not much, not much. I feel good, so it doesn't matter. But I was maybe one of 4 people out of the 100, by the way, COVID's still happening, the 100 people that were in this line in this room waiting to get their shot, and we were probably the 3 healthiest people there.
Okay. Now,
It was
let me
just
stop you for a
completely.
second,
Yeah.
just so the listeners and viewers know. You being overweight, tell me, because this is a BMI thing, and I'm not a big fan of the BMI body
Yeah,
mass
right,
index,
right.
um, but I think it's important to identify your height and weight if you don't mind telling it.
I'm 6 foot, I'm probably shrinking a little bit, so I'm probably 5'11" and 3 quarters now, and I weigh 185, somewhere in
Oh,
between
okay.
there.
My apologies, you fat ass.
I know, right? I should weigh. I agree, 'cause, I should weigh anywhere between 150 and 165 pounds. I would I would feel okay at 175 pounds.
You're 6 feet tall, for Pete's
I
sake.
know, and I don't look heavy. I don't think I look heavy. I've got a little bit of a chin here.
You do, oh,
You
whatever.
can't see, that's why I hide it under the microphone.
Yeah, I know. It's well done. You're a genius.
Thanks, thanks.
That's not talk about camera angles.
Right? I do it all on purpose.
Oh,
It's all a reason. There's
nothing
a reason
happens
for
by
everything I
accident.
do.
I
Right,
look at this
exactly.
countenance in front of me and I think, gosh, he
What?
looks so
In
perfect. That can't be
incontinence?
real.
You're looking at incontinence? Oh,
Countenance.
countenance. I thought you
Yeah,
said
incontinence.
incontinence.
I don't know anything about that. Have you been eating cheese from Wisconsin again?
Oh, I wish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes. So,
so
okay,
herd
I
us
don't
in like
call that
cattle,
overweight,
a
but okay.
lot of unhealthy people, and just, not I mean, I don't look down on anyone for their life choices, but it was one of those situations like, some of this, guys, is preventable. Seriously. Anyway, I'm
Yes.
listening to someone who probably weighs 300 pounds, sounds like they smoke 3 packs a day, complaining that their mask, when they have to wear it, makes their face break out, and they just can't. She's holding her mask out in front of her face, so it's not doing anything, and she's complaining about, um, not being able to wear it because it just makes her face itch.
Wow.
We're all in the same boat, lady.
Wow.
What makes you so special?
I think she's in a different boat. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could be. Anyway,
Yeah.
I shouldn't talk about people like that, but again, I'm just trying to set the mood. We're all being herded into this room, 100 people,
Yep.
a lot of funky smells,
Oh, stop.
and,
Okay, you could have gone without the smell.
there are 20 different stations in this room where they're giving shots.
Yeah.
So you walk up to a desk, they give you a piece of paper, they ask you if it's your first or your second, you tell them, and then they say, "Okay, you go over to desk number 14." And then you sit down there, you get your shot, and then you go and you sit in a self-isolation area for 15 minutes, and then you can leave. So the whole
Okay.
process takes about an hour.
And there were hundreds of people there.
Yeah, it was
while
about
you were
100.
there.
There was about 100 people,
Okay.
75 to 100,
Okay. All right.
if you counted people that were still standing in the hallway and this room.
So
And
it's
it was a sizable room.
pretty good process, it sounds like.
It was very efficient, I'll give them
Yes.
that. But
Okay.
you do feel like, unlike Jen's experience, where she walked in 15 minutes before her appointment into a Walgreens, there were 2 people there. She sat down, got the information, got the shot. They said, "You can go ahead and shop for 15 minutes." And then she was out of there.
Wow. So I take it neither of you had negative
Nope. My arm hurt a little bit for
experiences.
2 days,
Yeah.
but other than that, it was fine.
Okay.
It was like having a tetanus shot.
And when can you have the second one?
April 26th is my second shot.
Okay.
Friday. I think
Awesome.
it's Friday the 26th. Whatever that Friday lies on.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And I did that on purpose because everyone I've talked to who's had the second one, and I had Pfizer, had the second one, did not feel well.
Okay.
So
I think that varies. I think
varies,
it's just like anything. It varies dramatically. My mom, who's 92, had both and had no negative reaction from either.
yeah, there you go.
And who knows?
Yeah.
So anyway, awesome. Well, that's
So-
good. I'm glad you've got that process started.
Yeah, I am too. Now let's talk about why you are not having your shot. And what led up to us talking about it too. 'Cause
Sure.
that's interesting as well, if you're willing to talk about that.
Well, heck yeah. I had my it's generally every 2 months, 2 to 3 months now, my appointment with my oncologist. And for those of you who haven't been following along, I have multiple myeloma. It's a blood cancer, and my levels are very good right now. So they wouldn't call it remission because I'm still on kind of a test medication right now for Revlimid, but only 5 milligrams a day, so it's not much. What else do I need to tell you? I had a stem cell transplant December of 2018, using my own stem cells, by the way, and I feel great, and I'm almost back to normal.
That's good.
But just little, bits and pieces.
So
But I have to go in. Go ahead.
I do need to interject something
Yeah.
really fast, and I think our audience will really enjoy this process. Like I usually enjoy it. I don't think your microphone is capturing your audio. I think your webcam is capturing your audio. So can you check your
You're
little
killing me.
settings icon there in your bottom left-hand corner of your screen?
Holy cats. Oh, okay. It's on this thing.
This happens quite a bit that most of you I don't know why it does it. I'm not dealing with your computer. I'm on a Mac. It's much better.
Shut up.
But listeners and those of you who are now viewers, this happens quite a bit, and I usually edit it out.
Why is it not giving me the opportunity
I don't know.
it's like not highlighted?
Is it not plugged in?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's plugged in. There's no reason for it to become unplugged since I've used it.
Maybe unplug it and plug it back in again?
You don't hear any differently now?
No, no differently.
Shit.
Oh, sorry, Mom. It wasn't me this time.
No, it was Elisa.
Yeah, blame it on the wife.
Yeah, it's not, I'm going to have to come out and come back in.
Podius interruptus.
So, John, I thought our goal for our second video podcast, we weren't going to have any Podius interruptus. I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast, and we just had one.
I thought I wouldn't have to go in the middle of the show.
That's okay. You sound so much better though.
It was the microphone. Sorry.
It was the microphone.
And it's just a setting that unfortunately you have to constantly update it every time you log in. So my bad.
It's all right. That's I honestly, I've done that before too, and I have to make.
No,
I
you're
know.
just trying to butter me up. I've done it before. I've been that stupid before too, John.
It's called empathy.
I've never heard of that before.
Well, it's because you're so far right from me.
That's
Anyway.
exactly why.
I want to talk about that too, because I listened to a fantastic episode of the Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday. I didn't get to finish it, but anyway, you go on with your story and we'll talk about that when we're done. So back to the Pfizer thing.
Yes,
or not Pfizer, the COVID vaccine.
The COVID thing. So anyway, long story short, met with my oncologist. She's very nice. I have to tell her a joke every time I go in.
What was the joke this time?
The joke. there's two older couples, and they're at one of the houses, and they're, the ladies are in the kitchen cooking, and the guys are out in the living room and talking, and the one of the guys says to the other man, "So how's your memory been?" He said, "That's not bad." He said, "I remember important stuff." He said, "Okay, well, let me ask you this. Where did you go to dinner last night?" And he thought for a minute. He said, "What's the name of that flower with the thorns in it?" And the guy said, "Rose." He said, "Rose, where'd we go to dinner last night?"
Nice.
That was my joke today.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
She's saying, "Take deep breaths." And I said, "Rose, where are we?" As I'm telling the joke. Yeah, it was great. Anyway, she's awesome. Good news is my blood numbers look great. And as I was saying, I got to go in every 2 or 3 months. They check my blood work and so on and so on. Everything's good. And yeah, just totally blessed by all of that. She has for some time asked me about the COVID vaccine and protecting myself from COVID and all of that. Well, I actually thought I had COVID early on. And she said, "Well, let's get you tested for antibodies." I said, "Okay, that sounds fine." Because most of her nurses swore they had it at one point or another. And so I said, "I'll get tested." I did. I came back positive for antibodies. So as it turns out, I had it back in March of 2020. So I said, "I'm probably not going to get it because I think I've already had it. And I think that's probably the best line of defense." She says, "Well, there's some unsurety about that." I said, "Yeah, there is. There absolutely is." My biggest problem, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I've gotten, since I had my stem cell transplant, I've had to be revaccinated for everything.
Mhm.
I mean, everything, because it's like you are a newborn without anything. So I've had them all, except COVID.
And in the butt.
I asked, but they apparently same type of situation.
Man, same
with
thing.
yours.
That's sad.
Anyway, yeah, you can't get them that way anymore. Apparently, I'm not sure where you usually get yours, but down at the yacht club.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what that means, but so anyway, I told her probably not going to, and she said, "Well," she said, "I understand." I said, "It's a political thing. Because real science is never political. It's either
True.
A or it's B. And so if there's conjecture, call it conjecture. If I'm not sure, or it's an axiom, fine, I'm okay with that. But call it what it is." And I quoted to her that, in the US, we've had 500,000 deaths that have been attributed to COVID. I said, there's become a difference between people dying with COVID and people dying from COVID.
Mhm.
That's a problem, because
Yes.
that's not science. That's
Right.
lying in order to get more government funding or something like that. She says, "Well, there's misinformation out there, like what you just quoted. I've seen people die from COVID." I said, "Well, I didn't say that no one has died from COVID, but pick your number. Don't tell me it's 500,000. Anyway, so we have fun interactions mostly, but I'm not afraid to call her out.
Right.
It's Madison, Wisconsin. So let's just say they are a little left of center
Sure.
in Madison, Wisconsin.
Sure.
And I'm being facetious because they're way
They're
left.
way left of center.
And it's okay. I love lots of people in Madison. This isn't all about, it should be about respect. It's
Yes.
not. And
Yes.
that's sad. So I'm there sitting in the waiting room. I'm listening to The View on TV, which is unbelievable. If you are not a liberal, oh my gosh, it's the antithesis of watching The Five on Fox News, which is 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat. Oh, let's,
Right.
so whatever. The point is, I'm just exposed to all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, she's very nice. She cares for me a lot. She's added years to my life. I have no question about that. So I respect her. But I said, I'm probably gonna wait. She said, just keep paying attention to stuff. Let me know if you change your mind because I'll make sure I get you. And I said, thank you.
Yeah.
And that's
And
kind of how we left it.
that's the right way to do it.
I
That's
think so.
instead of canceling you. So the Joe Rogan, first of all, I'm going to say this, and this is going to ruffle feathers.
Good. I
Not,
hope.
not, I don't think so, but you never know with definitely not with some of our audience. It
I think
won't,
our
but
audience is not easily ruffled for the most
all,
part.
all I want to say before I talk about the episode is
Yes.
Dan Crenshaw for president. That's all I want to say.
Well, you're preaching to the choir, but I'm not going to talk politics because I never do that.
No, I know you never do that. Anyway, so obviously Dan Crenshaw was
Funny.
on the
Okay,
Joe Rogan
cool.
Experience, and it was a phenomenal episode because that's the one thing I really like about him is he's no nonsense, but he's also what's the word I'm looking for? It's we just not a lot of people have it right now, and it's
Common
hard
sense,
to that's the
empathy,
one.
love.
Common sense. That's the
Okay.
one. Common sense.
Okay.
I think we're sorely lacking common sense, and that's
I would
with
agree.
everything now. It's so polarized and so politicized, and
Ridiculous.
that's what he is. He's just, he said a perfect example. They had a very long conversation about making sure that every American has medical care,
Mhm.
and he's like, I don't think you'll find one Republican that disagrees with that statement.
Mhm.
What we disagree with is how we get there.
Mhm.
So he said a lot of the politics is saying, that the one side saying the other side doesn't think that or believe that and want that when that's not true at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said,
It's
I want
misrepresentation a lot.
exactly. I want healthcare for everybody.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're doing it in a fiscally responsible way.
Well, and so let's just say the problem with all of it right now and with Washington in general, there is no fiscal responsibility.
No,
We're
no.
22, maybe more, trillion dollars in debt. So let me just be clear. If you can hear this podcast, if your kids can hear this podcast, if their future kids can hear this podcast, that will never be paid off in our lifetimes.
No.
It won't. It can't be. It's impossible. The GDP of this country runs around 1 point something trillion.
Right.
That's the gross domestic product. You can take and see, this is the false stuff that I hate. And Crenshaw would say the same thing. You can take everyone's wealth, take all the money that all the people have in savings, 401ks, everything. It still won't even come close to half of what our debt is.
Right.
And that's real math. And it's not like it's not available out there, but
Yep.
they will say, well, we raise taxes and then the top 1% needs to pay more. You can take all their money. Don't just take a percentage, take it all. And it will not even put a dent in.
Yeah.
And it's the lying that goes on, the criminality.
The lying or the leaving out certain aspects. So
But it's still lying then. It's just to me, it just makes me angry because there are people who are getting extraordinarily wealthy representing us in Washington.
Yeah.
And that's not what it was intended to be.
No, it was intended. You actually were not supposed, there was not supposed to be a professional politician.
Correct.
They were supposed to come in from their regular jobs and do this job and then go back to their regular jobs. That was how it was intended. Now I understand times have changed and that would be far more difficult to do, but that's the whole idea. You shouldn't build a career around it necessarily.
And think about why times have changed. And frankly, they've changed primarily because of the decisions that have been made in Washington, self-empowerment for the leaders. And it's sad if you think about that, if you just took, forget the Social Security fund, if you just took all the FICA money that we have paid in, take that as a round number and give that back to people, it's a huge, with normal interest for most people, it runs near $1 million.
Yeah.
Over the course of their 40-year, 30-year, whatever work life.
Right.
And we're struggling because Congress voted to use Social Security money.
Right.
And it's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. But They
I
can't
don't know if
help.
I go that far necessarily, but
Okay.
I
Fine.
do want to the criminality
Yes,
part
we'll
of it.
go back to it.
But I
So
want to go back to the COVID thing
yes,
because one of the
yes.
things that he said, which I also found interesting when it comes to the common sense, he
Mhm,
was talking about Fauci.
mhm,
Very smart man, not gonna, there's a reason he does the job he does, but he is part of it too. He's part of that theater. And that's going back to what was he's a doctor, conservative senator, called him out. What is his name?
Ben
It's gonna
Carson, not a senator,
no.
but a doctor, Ron Paul.
Thank you, Ron
Yeah,
Paul.
sure.
Um, he called him out, called out Fauci because Fauci
Mm,
had 2 masks on and stuff like that, and he's already had the vaccine and stuff
mm,
like that. He was mentioning that, but also, Fauci saying, a 15-year-old can die from this.
mhm,
And then Crenshaw was like, "Yeah, everyone can die from this,
mhm.
but if you're of a certain age bracket, you have less chance of dying from it. You actually, a 15-year-old has more of a chance of dying from the flu than he does COVID.
Hmm.
But you're not saying that.
Yeah.
You're not adding context to the information you're giving, and all we're asking for is context." And
And the question
that
has
was
to be
something that's something I was going back to, is that's the common sense. We're
sure,
not the American, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on.
sure.
We are not being given context for the information that we're given, so we can't make the decisions based
So
on
the
what
the
we know.
the question then has to be this: why?
Right.
And my answer to that almost always is when there's spin, when it's propaganda, turns into follow the money.
Yeah. Yep. Did you know
Follow the money.
propaganda, by the way, is the original name of public relations, or for public relations?
That doesn't surprise me,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, that
The
doesn't surprise
good
me at
public
all.
relations person said, "We can't use the word propaganda anymore because we're using it for the Nazis. Let's call it public relations."
So negative versus positive connotation that words
Yep.
sometimes take.
Yes.
Interesting. And that's yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all, actually, since I started thinking about studying public relations in
Did you?
college. I was in the Public Relations Student Society of America. Shout
Nice.
out.
Nice.
Yeah,
Did
super.
we So my degree is actually that, technically.
Is it? What
So
wait,
I
wait,
went
wait, wait, wait. What do
so
you
I went
technically?
me technically, so I started the school that I went to, the degree is media communications,
Oh, okay.
but I started out as a film major in the media communications department. But I transferred after, I think it was 2.5 years, maybe a year and a half, into the public relations department.
Oh, okay.
But
Interesting.
my degree is media communications with an emphasis in public relations. I'm sorry, film production, public relations, and special event management.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was two classes short of a law minor.
So why aren't we taking those to get you your law minor?
I don't need them.
Well, but what if you run across a bunch of minors who need some legal representation?
It's a good point. That's a good point.
Sorry. I
Well,
should not.
I actually almost went to law school instead of getting my master's.
Yeah. And
So,
what prevented that?
I liked that master's program.
Mhm.
I was looking at the USC. I was looking at their law program
Mhm.
for fun, and I wanted to do a dual degree, so law degree with another
Did they title it
master's.
law for fun?
Yeah, law for fun. That's
Okay.
exactly it. I mean, doesn't that fit? It goes with I was going to get in on a scholarship,
Yeah.
by paying someone a couple $100,000 and then getting on a team that didn't exist. Yeah,
Law for
that was
fun.
how I. Yeah. Anyway,
Nice. Ugh.
I was looking at the just for fun, looking at the law program there, and the thing was, I kept coming back to, do I want to spend 3 years in law school when I really don't want to practice law? I just want the education,
Mhm.
because I wanted to do business. And would it be better to do an MBA, or excuse me, my degree,
Mhm.
or would it be better to do law school? I'm more interested in the law side of it than I am the business side. So I kept going that back and forth. So for fun, I looked at USC and the dual programs,
Mhm.
and saw this dual program, and then noticed that the master's program I could do 100% online.
Hmm.
So instead of uprooting my entire family, moving to Los
Sure.
Angeles for 3 years, I just said, screw the law degree. I'll get my master's.
That seems like a small commitment, though, just uproot the whole family and move
Yeah, that
to
was just a
LA.
small commitment. Well, we weren't doing anything.
Okay.
That was after Jen had her business went under,
Mhm.
and literally we were just kind of working and paying the bills. We had no ties to Nashville at that point,
Yeah.
no solid foundation. So we were in a place where we could just up and move if we wanted to.
But as it turned out, it was a good decision.
I think so.
Yeah,
Very good decision.
I think that's it looks great on your resume, I don't mind saying.
What?
Your
Almost got a law degree?
your MBA.
Oh, it looks good.
Almost got a law degree. Is that sort of like a degree? Is this
It's
a
kinda like a
Word
degree.
document?
Right, right. I could
Yes,
print one of these out on my printer.
you should. Nearly
Nearly a law. Well,
nearly a law degree.
you can get the stickers that when you go to an escape room, I nearly escaped, or I almost escaped.
I think that's great. We have another idea for T-shirts.
Yeah. Almost law degree. Almost
I
Harvard.
like it.
That would be funny. Almost Harvard.
Yeah, the almost Harvard or this close to a law degree. Something like that.
It was only 3 years away. I mean, that's how long's the program? 3 years?
Yes. So close. So close. So that's cool. And let me just be clear, just to backtrack for a second. For what we were talking about from the COVID vaccine, you have the right and I think the responsibility to make a decision, an informed decision. Not just for that, obviously, but for anything. Certainly, though, that's kind of front and center these days. So I'm not judging if you say my mother got it. She's 92 years old. Glad she got it.
Yeah.
Glad she got the vaccination. My brother who's in healthcare. My other brother who's a little older. So I think all that stuff is fine. It's just that I know I had it because I tested positive for antibodies.
Right.
And so I feel comfortable that I'm probably not going to die from COVID in my lifetime.
Right. And
of course, I have cancer, so that's easy for me to say.
You're right. There's a good chance that I had it too, but I look at it this way. Why wouldn't I? It's free. Well, it's not technically free if you really want to dive into it, but let's just say it's not coming out of my bank account right now.
Sure.
And I have pumped myself full of shit all through my life, whether it's vaccinations or the things that we do to ourselves in college, that what's it going to hurt? I mean,
I totally agree.
you go to the conspiracy side of things. Oh, now the government can track you. It's a way for the government
whatever.
to. Well, first of all,
Whatever.
yeah, exactly. I agree with you on that. But at the same time, that's what this does.
Yeah. Yes. Isn't that the truth? It's the whole conspiracy thing. It's really not, certainly not from my perspective.
And for those of you who are not viewing, I held up my cell phone.
Yes, you did.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, because they think you held up something else, and they could track me with this. That's not good.
I didn't point to the sky.
I hope that or anything.
Right.
Yes. So I'm not worried about any of that stuff. I just figure it's it's a flu. It is. It's influenza. It has a 99.6% survival rate.
Sure.
And so, there are a lot. I ride my Harley. Let's just say I'm a lot more likely to die on the Harley than I am from COVID.
Right.
Based on what I know about what I've been through and all the other stuff. So, and I'm still going to get on the Harley, and Lisa's going to want to come with me. So
it's kind of the same reason I'm still just going to get the shot.
Exactly, and that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing is, and so let's be clear: we are all going to die.
Yeah.
There is nobody who gets out of here alive. So if you say, "Oh, they only have X number of years to live," we all only have X number of years to live.
Right.
So it doesn't matter where you are; you cannot ensure you will never die.
Right.
So it's okay. Make peace with that. But enjoy yourself while you're here. And if you feel more comfortable doing that because it'll make you feel calmer and not worried about another thing, God bless you, do it.
Right.
But if it's going to cause you, well, I don't know about this and Fauci and Bill Gates and blah, 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 then don't do it. It's America. It's fine.
That's the greatest part about being an American is you have that choice. Hopefully that stays.
Hopefully. Correct. Hopefully, yes, I know. We have our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Crenshaw for president.
Speaking of that, since you were so bold as to tell us how Mr. Fatty Ass, how big you are,
Uh-huh.
6 feet and 180, what? 100?
Well, I weighed myself this morning. I was 184 pounds.
Oh, you pig.
Well, no, I have.
I'm a little disgusted.
I was down to 178 at one point. My goal is 175.
I'm a little disgusted.
You should be.
I graduated from high school at 180.
I was 148 when I graduated from high school.
Okay, so you've been small. Were you 6 feet then, though?
I was 6 feet, probably in 6th grade.
Oh gosh, okay. So you were one of the towering.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's awesome. Played basketball.
I did for one season,
Okay.
and it wasn't a game for me. I went back to hockey.
Okay. And do you play hockey still sometimes?
No, I wish I could. I could now technically because we just opened up a new rink in my community, but I haven't gone up there. It opened right when COVID started.
Oh, but you could, if you get back on skates and you could skate, right?
Yeah, it would take me a while to get used to it again, but yeah, I can skate.
But with the stick, and I mean, you could play the game.
I could.
Okay, that would be cool. I have, and my brothers and I do a boys' weekend, as we call it. There are no boys left. We are all like it should be geezers' weekend. But we always have a great time. And in years past, we have played hockey. One time it was 15 below zero in northern Wisconsin. And we were playing in an outdoor rink.
Nice.
We came off the rink, half of us are trying to bend over to get our skates tied, and you hear the noises like there are cattle lowing. And anyway, we get on the ice and we're done an hour later, and everybody's all frosted up on their facial hair, and eyes are frozen.
Well, I know most of our coworkers have heard this story, but you see this little bump on my ear?
No, but okay.
Yeah, kind of. You can't really
turn your head to the camera.
You can't see when I do that. I can see it. It's right here.
Oh,
there's a little bump on my ear.
It's like a ditch. Yeah. Did you fight Evander Holyfield?
No, that's frostbite from playing hockey.
Really?
Yep.
Indoors?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I was outdoors.
Really chilly.
I had we used to wrap our jerseys around our head and put our helmets on top because a hat wouldn't fit under our helmets.
Okay. So
that we just have old practice jerseys and do it. But one part of my ear stuck out of my jersey and was out in my helmet, and just it was about 2 or 3 below zero.
Did it stick out like your?
No, but it was just enough where
sleeve hole or something.
Yeah, no, not the sleeve hole. It was just I had literally wrapped it around my head.
Kidding. Yes, I understand. It was just, if you had like elephant ears that stuck out.
Yeah, well, I do have elephant ears. I've got massive ears.
You do not. They fit very nicely under those headphones you're wearing.
That's why they're really big headphones.
You actually looked sort of like damn it,
Princess Leia.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. I always wanted to be a girl in Star Wars. I almost said Star Trek. Star Wars. I'm a Star Trek guy.
Have you watched I finally watched the one from like 2016 or something like that?
I own all 3 of them.
Then okay, so I watched the first one. I really enjoyed it. I was sort of surprised because I remember enough about the old one, to know all the characters, and they matched these people up really well.
They did a very good job on that. I didn't like the alternative, and there's a whole reason they did it, but I didn't like the alternative or alternate universe idea.
Oh,
that part still kind of threw me off a little bit.
Okay,
but just because of the canon. But I did enjoy. I mean, obviously, I did. I bought all 3 of them.
Yeah, I have them on my phone too now.
Yeah, they're good. They're entertaining. That's all I
they were
care about.
entertaining. I would absolutely agree with that. Anyway, so it was kind of fun to.
Out of all the old movies, not the television show, but all the old movies, which one is your old movies, not the new ones? Which one's your favorite?
The old Star Trek movies?
Yep.
Oh, you're assuming I've watched them all. I haven't. I mean,
You really?
I watched the TV shows.
Well, yeah, the TV shows are the TV shows. I mean, the movies that were just they're different. I'm not going to say they're better. They're just different.
The movies are different. Yes, I would agree. Well, I like them just because they're obviously way more in depth than the episodes on TV used to be.
Right.
And so they can develop it a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know. What was yours? The Return of Khan.
No, most people's favorite is The Wrath of Khan.
Wrath, that's it.
and it's The Wrath of
I
Khan.
saw them in concert. The Wrath of Concert.
Nice,
Thank you.
nice. But my favorite is The Return Home, and
Okay.
it's not the best of the movies, but I like it because I had a really good memory of it. And it happened they actually released it right after or very close after the Challenger explosion.
Ah, okay.
So it's dedicated to the Challenger. It was the first and probably the only time I went to a movie
Huh,
theater with my dad. So my dad was
interesting.
a big Star Trek movie fan
Oh,
or
cool.
Star Trek fan. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I had a really good memory of it. So whenever it's not my favorite, but it's right up there. So if
Mhm.
I am bored with Goonies for some reason, I'll throw in The Return Home. And for those of you who haven't seen it, this is the reason it's not great is because they actually time travel, and that's time travel is not supposed to be part of the Star Trek canon necessarily
Mhm.
to bring a pair of humpback whales back to the future to save the world.
Yes,
But it's
I
funny
recall.
because it's very rich in comedy, which is not usually a Star Trek thing, and
Yeah,
that's maybe also why I liked it a little bit
yeah.
more.
The interactions, and that's why I like the new series because the interactions between Kirk and Bones,
Yeah.
they were just some really funny, genuinely funny exchanges, I thought.
Yes. Yes.
So,
And I like the little
the other day.
tidbits, like you said, that bring like Bones saying, "I'm a doctor, not a," and then they beam him away
Fill in the
before he could.
blank.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So, again, I know we've never done a rabbit hole before, but getting back to your weight thing, which I
Okay.
think
I thought you were
you'll
going to get back to COVID, Star Trek, and COVID.
now we're done with that.
Oh,
Or at least I am until you bring it up again.
okay.
Uh, on the weight thing, yes. So before I go into the doctor, of course, they have to weigh me,
Sure.
and it's the normal. They go through all the blood pressure, blah 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 blah. And so today, I was 275.
Wow.
And well, but I'm 6'10", so that
You're right. I
has
was going to
something to
say,
do
well,
with
you
it. But
must have shrunk a little. I thought you were 6'12".
your math is so terrible.
I know.
So yeah,
That's why I have a degree in math.
you have a degree in everything,
I
seems
do.
like,
See, it's
except
all up on
law.
the wall here, except
Except
law.
law.
I was almost a have
So
you
close.
you watched oh, what is it? The TV show Goldbergs.
Um, heard of it, haven't watched it, I don't think.
Okay, well, the mom, that's one thing she always says. I was almost a lawyer. She never went to law school.
That's funny.
I could have been a lawyer. They have a whole episode on it too.
Oh,
It's
I love
funny.
it. That's excellent. Yes, so that means John is now in actually my 3rd day in of keto.
Okay. And how do
So
you like
hopefully
that?
it sucks, but it's a different look, I'm not married to bread or potatoes or rice or anything.
Well, that's
I
good.
can
Lisa would be very upset.
she would. You're cheating on me with rice.
Yeah.
Uh, which would be stupid. But so I can do it. I know I've done it before, but I really need to buckle down and get serious about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, by next week I'll be 250 because I'm
Nice.
on the decapitation diet, and
That's why you wear a brain bucket when you drive your motorcycle.
I think I would start with arms and legs first. I don't think I'd start with my head. That'd be silly.
I don't remember what we were talking about, but Craig was here last week. We talked about possibly having him on the
Yeah.
podcast again, but we weren't able to arrange it. However, we were talking about motorcycle riding, and my dad has always called it a brain bucket. My dad was a
Yeah.
firefighter for 35 years.
Understood.
So Peyton said, "Daddy, why do you call it a brain bucket?" And I said, I'll have to let you know when you're a little bit older."
I have, of course, a lot of respect for anybody who has to go to those scenes and deal with
Mhm.
stuff like that. I, yeah, it's
Well,
just,
that's where you come up with names like that, brain bucket, crispy critter,
of course,
things like that. You have to find ways to cope.
I would say that's a coping mechanism. I would
Yep.
agree with you wholeheartedly because I mean, it's got to be just it's got to be terrible for anybody
Mhm.
who comes upon something like that. But I will say this: I try to not give them anything easy to talk about. I don't want. I I wear a helmet 99.6% of the time, and when
Mhm.
I don't, it's like a quick run to church because for some reason.
'Cause
And
you don't wanna mess up your hair.
sometimes it's
Yeah.
that, but not very often. Almost always wear one. I always wear gloves. I mean, every time I get on the bike. I never ride and drink ever, not even one. And
Right.
and that used to be a thing. I'm years
I
ago
couldn't
when I
even
rode.
imagine.
Oh, well, it's tough
I can barely
enough. It's not
walk.
well, I'm on a 950-pound bike, number 1, and so, for me to, "Well, let's get hammered and, get out on the bike," I just don't do it, and
Right.
so as much as, "Whoa, you're really missing out." Yeah, and the brain bucket conversation, yes,
Yeah.
that's what I'm missing out on, but anyway, so you can't prevent everything on a bike, but you try to mitigate the risk as much
Risks,
as you
right.
can, and
Right.
that's what you do,
Yeah.
and so
Well, it's the
if
same with being a
it's my
pilot
time,
too.
it's my
That's what
time.
you do.
That's very well said. That's exactly what it is being a pilot, and that's, we could really go down a tunnel, but first, before we do, maybe we'll do that in the next episode.
Okay.
I'm gonna send you a link to something, and
Okay.
we're gonna be a little brain teaser for our
Not a brain
audience.
bucket, a brain teaser.
No, 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 no. Please wear a helmet, even when you're driving your car. Um, 'Cause
How do you know I don't?
People will talk. I've ridden with you.
Yes, you
You
have.
should.
I know.
I'm just kidding. You're an excellent driver in downtown Nashville.
I'm an excellent driver.
You are.
I'm an
Excellent.
excellent driver.
But I'm gonna send you a link that will, I think is very concisely stated, about a very hot topic these days. So before we get into it, I want you to read it, and then maybe we'll visit it,
Okay.
in our
In the
next
next
episode.
episode. All
Yeah,
right.
and if we don't, we totally ignore it. Nick will say, "That was inappropriate," and
Yeah.
we just
Well,
won't do it,
just
and
like
we'll
I
forget.
totally ignored the fact that I said we were gonna talk about my visit with Mike, and, I'm gonna
Damn
have to
it.
wrap it up because it's time to go already.
But he knows that. Mike has been a listener for a long time,
He
so he
has.
knows
He
we
has.
are prone to saying, "Hey, we can't wait." This is why we can't have a talk show, because we'd get this whole lineup of guests, and then you know what had happened. We go, "Oh, I'm sorry. All 4 of you, we'll have to see you next
Right.
week.
Right.
Sorry."
Well, we had a meeting here in Nashville, all of our coworkers recently,
Mhm.
and not all of our coworkers, but some of them. And there were like 4 of them that asked me, "So when am I coming either back on the podcast or when am I coming on the podcast?" Because we have invited them already.
Yes.
Notice how we obviously always have guests come on our podcast.
Well, yeah, we have, lawyer Nick. He was on
Right.
this week,
I was
and
almost a lawyer. I was this
almost lawyer
close.
Nick.
I
Yeah.
was 3 years away.
We have non-vaccinated John,
Yep.
but
Mhm. But
antibody John.
you know what we
Antibody.
have? You know what we do have?
What?
We have a website.
What would we call it if we did?
Well, I think it's on your shirt.
Oh,
You can
it
go to
is. Oh,
poddimouths.com to get that shirt.
by the way,
Yeah,
I wore this shirt last week, and it's the same shirt, but I washed it. I just
that's
wanted
good.
to show our audience how nicely it washes up.
It does wash very nicely. I thought you were
Yeah.
gonna say I wanted to show how you're invested in the podcast and I'm not, because 'cause I'm not wearing a Potty Mouth shirt.
I know that your lovely wife has bought more than one and has
Yes,
asked about your input in buying more because they're so comfortable. We said that last week. I listened.
you did. Good job. Did you watch, though?
Yeah, I actually
Because you
did.
can also find us on YouTube.
And I did find us on YouTube, and
Probably twice.
I'm the
'Cause I
one thumbs up.
Right. Hey, no, there were 3 thumbs up
I
when I went.
know. I know. I
It was
paid
incredible.
my
Oh,
mom
very
did a thumbs
nice.
up.
Very
I'm just
nice.
kidding. Someone else
Um,
did. Someone nice.
But well, you probably find it there twice because I still haven't shut off the automatic upload of
I
the
saw
voice,
that
the
too.
audio version.
Yep.
So I need to do that. I'll probably forget for the next 6 weeks, but I'll get it there eventually.
That's okay. Your mental acuity normally is exemplary.
Very low. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, head up to the website to check out the merch store, check out the most current episode audio version only because I haven't done the video integration yet. I will get to that eventually. Probably not, but it's neither here nor there. What else am I missing? Check out the merch store. Check out all of our
Yeah.
previous guests who have links up there.
Yeah.
Who have all wanted to be invited back, but we just haven't gotten there yet.
We will.
We will talk about Mike in the next episode or 3 from now. Who knows? We'll talk about it. We'll get there.
Can't wait.
And then, hey, if we pissed you off, we hope that you'll come back for at least one more episode. If you pissed you off too much, then we don't want you listening anyways.
Wow. Nice. This is what stops my mom from listening.
Right.
Remember that time? I think it would be a good idea, though. If you did agree or disagree, let us know.
Yeah,
There
absolutely.
are several places in social
yeah.
media that you can let us know.
Exactly. And that's, John said it perfectly. We don't want you to go anywhere. We want to engage in some really good conversation. You know, you might convince us otherwise. So please do. I know that our data isn't always, well, John's data is always spot on. Mine's, you know, 97% of all statistics are made up on the spot, and I'm guilty of doing most of that.
True.
Yeah. But anyway, I hope you all have a fantastic week. John, it's been fun, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya!